Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to welcome Governor Pritzker and his staff and all who are attending, and I'd also like to acknowledge and thank State Representative Dan Brady for joining us, along with Secretary of Transportation Omar Osman. Omar, welcome. Also, I invited a few county board members to come, so if you would stand for a minute. Leah Klein, Sharon Chung, Bill Frederick, Vice Chairman Jim Solner, Shana Wachinski, Jim Rogal, and anybody else that might have come in a minute ago. Thank you. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for all you do. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for coming, and just to mention how proud we are of McLean County, and especially our County Highway Department, led by our County Highway Engineer, Mr. Jerry Stokes. Jerry, are you here? And the rest of his excellent staff and crew. Gentlemen, thank you for all that you do. We not only have more total miles of roadway than any county downstate, but we have set a precedent in maintaining the best roadways for county. We take great pride and owe a great deal of gratitude to all of our county highway employees. And we take great pride in knowing that we have the best. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate all that you do, and thank you, Jerry, as well. During the past decades, there have been times during state budgetary cycles when there just wasn't enough funding for a county of our size to identify and plan major sections of road improvements that would allow for hard servicing and expansion of some of our more heavily traveled arteries. One example of that is the Towanda Barnes extension from Fort Jesse up to Rab Road. It took us 7 years to work on that, to get everything and the funding together on it, and that was about $6 million. Our county highways and engineers in the department do adjust, and in many cases they have provided over this periods of time needed maintenance. However, because of their good diligence, advanced planning, and actual budgetary saving for projects in the future, our county has been able to take on major projects when funds have been accumulated and when extra funding is available. This certain road construction project, County Highway 23, which runs from Lexington up to Meadows on Route 24, is just such a project. With the help of county highway budget funds, TARP funds, some motor fuel tax, we were close, but what was needed is just what the state legislature and the governor's office is providing today. With some of the Build Illinois funding, we'll be able to complete this major project. This project would not have been completed and to such a degree of excellence in engineering without this $4 million funding from the Build Illinois project. And so I say on behalf of the residents of McLean County, thank you, Governor Pritzker. And thank you to the state of Illinois for providing the additional assistance that we need. Thank you very much. And so, without further ado, I'd like to introduce and call on the governor of our state of Illinois, Governor J.B. Pritzker.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much, Chairman McIntyre, and thanks to the county board members and to all who come here this morning. It is great to be welcomed back to Bloomington. Always great to be back here. Leader Dan Brady, always good to be with you and to join together to celebrate the impact of this bipartisan major bill. When I became governor 3 years ago, Illinois had not passed a capital bill for almost a decade. Think about the effect that deteriorating roads and bridges and airports have on our prospects for future growth. When your infrastructure is crumbling with no sign of any major improvement, businesses looking to relocate here, and families thinking about where they want to raise their children, had good reason to be wary about putting down roots in the state of Illinois. So I knew that we had to change that, and we did. We passed and signed the largest infrastructure investment package anywhere in the nation. Today, 2.5 years later, 2.5 years after I signed this bill into law, Rebuild Illinois has repaired and replaced over 3,500 miles of roads already and nearly 350 bridges statewide. We've dedicated over $60 million to the Visual Arts Center at ISU, with over $40 million in additional investments around campus. We're investing in Heartland Community College and adding an electric vehicle manufacturing academy there too. Rebuild Illinois is replacing the Oak Street water main in Normal, rehabbing the Central Illinois Regional Airport, and enhancing transit throughout the Blono region and across McLean County. And on top of all of that, through our $1.5 billion program to support municipal and county projects, Rebuild Illinois has deployed $17.5 million to dozens of projects right here in McLean County alone, including the construction of a wider and safer Meadows Road, kicking off next month. Meadows Road, County Highway 23, what the chairman was talking about, was originally built almost 100 years ago. It's a vital north-south thruway for central Illinois and for its economy, fostering access to multiple Prairie Central facilities and the Blooming Grove wind turbines and Illinois State University Farm. It's due for an upgrade after 100 years, that's for sure. And thanks in part to a $4 million investment from Rebuild Illinois, McLean County has the resources that it needs to get the job done. What's more, this funding helps the county reallocate precious local dollars for other parts of the community and other needs that families and businesses have, and perhaps critical savings for local taxpayers too. This is the kind of project whose importance goes unnoticed by folks who don't live here, but it's at the heart and soul of Rebuild Illinois, modernizing major thruways that underpin our status as a logistics hub for the nation. That's critical work, but so too are the changes that most directly touch working families and their lives. Upgrading local roads, improving bike paths, replacing storm drains, and widening sidewalks. These are the projects that sustain and revitalize communities. That's why today I'm very excited to announce the next $250 million in support for municipal and county projects. With these new funds, we are helping to build projects like Meadows Road in every corner of Illinois, spurring more economic development across our state. In this work, we owe a real debt of gratitude to the great men and women of organized labor who will make the rebuilding of Meadows Road possible, and to the many other people behind the scenes, not to mention the great team of transportation professionals here in the county and as part of the Illinois Department of Transportation. So with that, I get to introduce our terrific leader of our Illinois Department of Transportation, Secretary of Transportation, Omer Osman.
Thank you, Governor, and good morning, everyone. And thank you, Governor, for mentioning the men and women of IDOT, a lot of whom are here. I want to thank, first of all, McLean County and the elected representative joining us today. But I want to acknowledge road construction. I think Mike Gulkin is here. Road construction is going to be the contractor on this project. And I also want to acknowledge a good friend of mine. His name is Shane Larson. He is one of the leaders of Hutchinson Engineering who did the design work here. And of course, everybody talks about Jerry, who is a good friend of all of us. We will truly thank you for what you do for the residents of these counties. With me here today, with the Illinois Department of Transportation is the Director of Highways Chief Engineer, Steve Travia. And of course, we are here in District 6, the home of Council Garnett. He's the regional engineer, and I think he's got Brian Trick, who's the local roads engineer in District 5, rather not District 6, District 5, here with him. So thank you all for what you guys do for all of us. So since Rebuild Illinois passed almost 3 years ago, I have had the privilege of joining the governor at events like this throughout the state to celebrate the achievements of once-in-a-lifetime capital program, highlighting a project that's being done by one of our local partners. As far as I'm concerned, and I have said this repeatedly, there is no such a thing as a federal road, a state road, a county road, or a township road at IDOT. They are all Illinois roads and parts of a multimodal that gives our state its competitive edge and connects us to the rest of the world. Whether you are commuting to work, driving to a family event, or making a delivery for a business, you are depending on all kinds of roads. It is just part of our transportation system. If just one part of our transportation system is not in a state of good repair, that impacts your quality of life. Thanks to the leadership and vision of Governor Pritzker and the General Assembly, Rebuild Illinois invests in our local transportation system like never before, and I have been around for a long, long time. This $250 million installment is the fifth of 6. There's one more to come, hopefully this summer, that will be delivered to our counties, townships, and municipalities. Funding from the previous $250 million installment had estimated 2,300 projects across the state. Projects that once faced an uncertain future are creating good-paying jobs, and thank you for the trade. Mr. Penn, I have seen you earlier. Thank you for being here. Good-paying jobs in our communities, enhancing our qualities of life. And all of this is on top of the increased funding our local governments are receiving through their regular allotment. Since Rebuild Illinois passed, almost an additional $1 billion has been provided to counties, townships, and municipalities in increased motor fuel tax revenues. Add it all up, and we are making infrastructure investment across the state that are making our roads and bridges safer and will keep Illinois competitive at the country's transportation hub for a long, long time. Congratulations, Jerry. I know the governor mentioned it. Like I was saying earlier, you're getting a 50% discount on this project. It's $8 million. It's $8 million. It's not even Black Friday yet, so you're getting a 50%. Congratulations to McLean County. This project is going to make a big, big difference for this area. And I truly look forward to coming back here one day for a ribbon cutting. Thank you, everyone. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce Representative Don Brady. Representative.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Governor Pritzker, thank you, and thank you for being here. Mr. Secretary, thank you for being here as well. Coach McIntyre, Chairman McIntyre, thank you. For those of you who don't know, Coach McIntyre was my coach in high school and teacher, and his wife Karen, who's in the audience here, was the theater coach at Central Catholic High School, and told me, whatever you do, don't go into politics, Dan. So you know how well I listen. But, you know, this is a partnership, and I don't think anyone in this room would not notice the condition of our roads right now and the type of environment we're in weather-wise and the repairs and the needs across the state, not only here in McLean County. But those of you that are in this room today are an example of what a partnership is, and many that will be outside of this room working on this project, the expansion and what's needed on the Meadows Road, which is in my legislative district. It's a partnership, obviously, with government from different levels of county to state, and it's a partnership with the governor and the administration and the Illinois General Assembly to come together on a capital bill to make these type of projects a reality. Now, the over $4 million that will be part from the state in this project is sorely needed to close the gap and bring this project together. So with that partnership, we're able to do things like that people just take for granted, that think these type of projects just happen. We all know better. We all know it takes planning. We all know it takes funding. We all know it takes cooperation. We all know it takes a partnership for people to be able to drive roads, to be safe, and to have good jobs, paying jobs across the state. So thank you again, Governor, for being here, Mr. Secretary, Chairman McIntyre, and to all of you here that will make this project a reality and continue on other projects of our infrastructure needs across the state of Illinois. Thank you very much.
Happy to take any questions from members of the media. I'm glad you asked. This is a subject matter area that I care a lot about. I've been involved with early childhood education and nutrition and making sure that we're taking care of our youngest and most vulnerable children for a couple of decades. And so when I came into office, I saw that the conditions at DCFS were depleted significantly. I would even use the word decimated as a result of Illinois, as well as just overall neglect of the agency. We brought new people in. We brought the University of Chicago and Chapin Hall, a really great organization that focuses on child welfare. The Annie E. Casey Foundation, which is another nationally recognized organization. And kind of we put our arms around the agency and said, what needs to happen here to make sure that we're protecting the children that are under the care of DCFS, as well as anybody that comes into contact. And what we found was there was years of work that needed to be done. One was we had to retrain all the staff, and have done that, by the way. These are folks that had worked at the agency sometimes 25 years, and they just hadn't received up-to-date training, or maybe never got training. And so we've trained everybody, including all the managers and all the way up to the director of the agency. Then I'm sorry to go on about this, but this is something I care deeply about and that we've done a lot of work. In another area is that we have children who come in contact with DCFS who are left in the care of a responsible parent, but sometimes the responsible parent makes decisions for the child while they're in their care that put the child in danger in some ways, that the DCFS could not know when they chose the responsible parent to take care of the child. These are awful circumstances. I think that maybe, I don't know exactly which case you're referring to, but maybe one of those circumstances. DCFS needs to, look, judgments need to be made by investigators and those who are frontline at DCFS. And that means you've got to hire good people, more people. They've got to have fewer cases per caseworker. And that's what we've been doing. We've been hiring and hiring and hiring. Every budget that I have proposed has increased funding and put requirements on DCFS to hire more people and make sure that they're trained to do their job. So apologize for the long-winded answer, but it's something that we're still working on. There is much more to do, and there will never be a situation in which we should be satisfied. On the other hand, I think we should recognize progress. I'll give you one area of major progress for DCFS, and then we'll move on. The hotline. When I came into office, so the way that DCFS finds out about neglect and abuse, for the most part, is through a hotline. And we have people who answer those hotline calls. When I came into office, only about 50% of those calls were being answered on the spot. And the other 50% were going into voicemail, and then sometimes responded to after days or even weeks. Now, think about that. If there's a case where there's real abuse taking place, you want to act quickly. So this is something that needed to be dealt with. The agency took it on and has managed now to completely overhaul that hotline so that 99% of the calls that come into that hotline now get answered on the spot, and about 1% are maybe put into voicemail that gets responded to within 24 or 48 hours. So that's a tremendous change. It means that we're able to get on those cases as fast as possible. Also, change in hours of when those workers are answering those phones. So most of the cases, the plurality of the cases come through teachers who spot abuse or neglect at school. And so when do teachers report? They typically report after school. They can't do it during school hours. They're just too busy. And so between 3 and 6 o'clock, roughly, is when many teachers will call the hotline. We had to change the scheduling of workers, right? Because if you have everybody working from 8 to 4 or 9 to 5, you're going to miss some of those, the bulk of calls that come in during the week. So that's something we upgraded, improved, and has led to the significant improvements at the hotline. Yes, sir. So we need to do everything we can to try to bring down the costs that people are incurring now as a result of inflation. And you know, worldwide global gas prices have gone through the roof, and it's not an Illinois specific problem. This is literally every country in the world is experiencing this, and every state in the United States. So relief can come in two ways. One is by alleviating the pressure on gas tax here in the state of Illinois, as well as at the federal level. There are things that can be done to try to bring down the cost of oil overall, importing of oil to the United States. We should be working on all of those things because families are suffering from not only the increased price of oil, but other inflationary price rises. So I know that the hotel industry association in Illinois is asking for I think $250 million is what they were asking for. The legislature is considering that. It's something that, you know, we've tried to help small businesses and businesses throughout the state of Illinois to recover from the pandemic and the effects on their businesses. Hotels have suffered as much as anybody, maybe even more. And there are low-wage workers, relatively low-wage, minimum wage workers. I'm glad we raised the minimum wage, so at least that minimum wage is becoming a living wage. But there are many low-wage workers that are severely affected by the downturn in the hotel business. So that's something that the legislature is considering now, and certainly I'm, you know, in favor of helping businesses that have suffered through the pandemic. Yes, sir. Only because they don't get taken up by the committee that's supposed to take those up. So, you know, we're at the whim of the Senate and their decision about whether to take up and when to take up proposed members. Yeah, you know, look, the rise in gas prices is a very unfortunate thing. I guess if you could find any silver lining, it might be that people will more likely choose when they're going to buy a new car to go to electric because it's much, much less expensive over the long haul of ownership. So I do think that there will be an increased number of purchases of vehicles, electric vehicles, and I hope that people will purchase vehicles that are made in the state of Illinois. That certainly would benefit all of us. And we're trying to attract even more electric vehicle manufacturers. We've got two major ones in Rivian and in Lion Electric, but believe me, I've been on the phone with many, many companies around the country, and everybody is looking to ramp up their manufacturing of electric vehicles, and I want them to do it here. We have the best labor in the entire country. We have a lower cost of living for workers and for executives who want to, if they want to move their headquarters here. And we have a bill in place to provide incentives for those companies to come here so that we can be competitive with any other state in the country. the state of Illinois is not doing enough. I want to be clear that we're providing funds. We've provided funds every year in my budget. Is it ever enough? I'm not sure that that's ever enough. Are there more resources that we can provide? In other words, to protect people both who are experiencing domestic violence, sexual abuse also, for people to be able to find a place to leave and go to and be protected. That's something we need to build up more capacity for. Not to mention there are tremendous challenges that people, once they've left a bad situation of domestic violence, they need help sometimes to find a job. Maybe it's somebody who's never had a job before. They've been married, didn't have a job before. They have their kids with them in tow. We've got to protect that whole family and help them get on their feet so that they can live independently, get a job, get an apartment, and so on. They need more than just a place to go. And by the way, there are great organizations across the state that do this work. They just need more. Thank you.